Hey good people, here's another wonderful Cremona with a K guitar, and you've seen this before, so this is not about this specific guitar. This is a Cremona Rosa Moreno or Morena RM model, and this is basically a flamenco guitar. It has the two golpe plates. I don't know if you can see that on there, but it has the two golpe plates on there. A little bit thinner of a model. Rosewood back with the solid spruce top. Sometimes you see this with the cypress. This would be a Negra, whereas the cypress ones are called a Blanco. This is just an example of getting something with a slight defect and not sending it back. My previous video was all about guitar returns and the annoyance of buying from companies who just don't check their products when they send them out, don't care how they send them out, don't care how they arrive, and send out horrendous playing or non-playing instruments, mostly to kids ordering their first one. This one came, you're not going to see it because I've taken care of it. This one came as a blem, and what was wrong with this is it had a rough scrape right on the edge, which is something that happens to guitars if it catches an edge or gets bashed. It doesn't happen very often with these because these get shipped in cases, but it did have a scrape right here. I suspect somebody bought this, bashed it, and then just returned it. I don't think it happened with shipping with the kind of padded bag that it could have, but with the kind of padded bag it came in, it's unlikely. This was probably done by somebody, and then they just decided to return it, which I'm sure, this is the downside of returns, isn't it? You get people doing stuff like this. This is one of the things I hate about eBay. eBay supports the seller, the buyer in all cases, and you know, they can joyride your guitar for weeks, thrash it, and then force a return on you. This is not quite that bad, but I suspect this was scraped or bashed. It didn't crack. It wasn't enough to crack through the wood. Basically, it sort of bashed up the finish just a tiny bit at the end and made it rough to touch. So I went through several grades of sandpaper and just the edge here, smoothed that down almost to where it feels exactly the same as the finish around it. So go through the grades of sandpaper, not starting out too high, starting out with something like 220, going to 400, 650, 1200, that sort of stuff. Then going to a buffing polish or compound and just buffing that out. And now you can bear it. You can't see it at all. You can't feel it. And it's basically as good as new. I do this quite a lot. If the finish issue isn't too bad, I can overlook that and remedy that. If I can still feel it or see it, of course I'm going to point it out to the customer that there is a repair done on that particular guitar, and which makes it harder to sell online, because once you mention that there's a repair done on a guitar, big percentage of people then get suspicious. Who's done the repair? What's it going to look like? That kind of thing. And then they want photographs, and you can't really photograph it because you fixed it. So you send them a photo of this fixed section. They can't see any issues, which may make them more suspicious, or they may decide to buy it. But often when I do these touch-up repairs and I relate that to the customer, this guitar sells in person. Somebody will come over, I'll point this out to them, and they'll say, well, I can't see anything, you did a good job. And they'll end up buying the guitar. So not everything gets returned, not everything gets complained about. The companies I buy from are very, very lucky, because I keep probably 60-70% of guitars that other people, non-repair people, would return. This probably would have been returned if somebody felt that or saw that situation down there. It probably would have got returned again. All the guitars that I keep with setup issues would probably get returned. I just fixed them. So I just wanted to show you a more positive instance. This is a I think these sell for $5.99. Used, they're worth $4.50 all day long. They're really, really nicely graduated flamenco negra guitars. They sound great. They have a really nice growl. If that picks up on the video. But yeah, I just wanted to point out and do a video on guitars that I often remedy. And some of you are probably doing the same things. You buy one of these budget guitars and they arrive with little defects. And then you have to make that decision, do I want to return it or can I work with this? I see those stories all the time. Particularly people buying budget brands like Firefly and IYV and cheaper acoustic brands. They often come with little finish imperfections or little dings, and sometimes you can buff them out or fix them or remedy them or just deal with them for the price that you got. I mean, if you get sort of a 500, 600 guitar and you get a discount on it, say you get this for $3 or $3.50 and it's got that little spot on there and you have the ability to buff it out, doesn't go through the wood, you got yourself a bargain. However, if that had smashed through the wood, that's a different situation. Most people, then the guitar is not even worth the $3.50 that you might have paid. So, these things are in gradations. I mean, there are some things that you can live with, you can fix, you can quickly remedy, if you can do touch-up work. And I did also put, after I buffed this out, I put a fresh layer of lacquer on it and then sanded that down with all the grades of sandpaper just to give it that protection. And you really literally can't really feel it as I run my finger down there, and I can slightly see a change in the light reflection, probably where there's some material removed, but it's smooth and it looks good and it's not open, it functions. So this one I was able to remedy. Often there are chips in the headstock you can sort of touch up, put a little lacquer fill on them, or chips in the fretboard. A lot of things you can deal with if you have a little bit of know-how. Perhaps if a bridge is sticking up just very, very slightly, you can get a palette knife underneath, get some glue under there and reclamp it. Sometimes you have to take the bridge off and then re-glue it. It depends on what the guitar is. If you got a really good deal on a guitar and you have to take the bridge off and put it back on, it's not really a big deal. It's just time consuming. So you might decide to keep that one. All kinds of things that come to me, and I look at them and I say, I can take care of that. This guitar is going to stay. I'll find a home for it. So I don't want to give the impression, as I have in my last video, that I get a lot of guitars that I can't fix and I send them back. I send them back when they're absolutely thrashed and they're not worth the price I paid. For instance, the Cadence guitar I alluded to, I didn't show you, but I alluded to in the last video. The neck was so warped, backbowed, that when I straightened it, it was still kinked in odd places. I mean, it was just, the neck was worthless. Even had I got the guitar for $50, I'd still have sent that thing back. There's just nothing you can do with it. So most of the time I can fix it. I find solutions for them, or I can work with the issues. But when they arrive to me and they are beyond repair, and I paid money for them, good money for them, they go back depending on the vendor. I mean, there are some things I buy from companies where there is no return. You take the chance. But if you buy something from eBay or Amazon and it wasn't advertised as warped and trashed, but in good playing condition, and you get it, and it's something that you can fix, then you don't make an issue of it. But if it's something you can't fix, you can go to that seller, whether it be Amazon itself or the eBay seller, and you say, look, I bought this guitar expecting to do setup work on it, but I didn't buy it expecting it to be, the neck to be completely warped and unplayable and unfixable, unstraightenable, Or I didn't buy it with a massive crunch in the back that goes all the way through. That wasn't listed in the auction. So this guitar, that I would have paid 200 for, I'm speaking hypothetically now, not this particular guitar. I'm talking to a seller. I paid 200 for this. I expected these issues, but it has this issue. It's now worth less than 100 to me. So either you make up the difference in a partial refund, or this is coming back because you weren't discerning about the issues on the guitar. And you'll be surprised how often that happens. It happens a lot. And not just with new eBay sellers either. Amazon does this to you all the time. If you buy from their warehouse, often it will say very good, good, and you'll get it, and it won't meet those requirements. If it's advertised as very good or good, it means it's being sold as used because it has small blemishes, finish situations. But if it arrives to you with a big crack down the middle, that's not just a blemish. That's a structural damage. That's a defect. And a cracked guitar is not worth anything to anyone unless you have a luthier that can glue the crack up and clean it from the inside. And even then, the guitar is never going to sell for that amount of money again with that sort of top repair, unless it's like a 1958 Gibson or something, as you buy used, as you buy blems, as you go to these sites like Guitar Fetish, read their descriptions of the defects, the blems. If they offer pictures, that's even better. Look at them. And then when you get the guitar, make sure that indeed is the situation with the guitar. If there are extra surprise situations that you can deal with, then you just deal with them and eat the time. If it's time consuming enough, you might get in touch with that seller and say, hey, I had to fix a situation you didn't talk about, and or I'm going to fix this. I'll keep it if you give me this much discount to account for this situation that you didn't report in your listing. Or you have to contact them and say, look, you sold this as a good playing guitar. I expected to do some setup on it because every guitar I receive needs setup. But it's got this issue. It's warped or it's crunched, it's bellied or whatever the issue is. And you have to tell them, look, you're taking it back. I don't care if you say no returns on eBay. There's no such thing. If you don't represent your instrument correctly and you send somebody something that has more issues than you accounted for in your listing, it comes back whether you like it or not. And I have to abide by this as a seller too. When I sell something, I have to say everything that's wrong with that guitar. Otherwise, it's liable to come back to me. I rarely get returns because I'm very discerning. I do very, very, very articulate descriptions of the guitars, the woods, the makes, the condition, the playability. I do a full setup, so I avoid a lot of returns. But when I'm as a buyer, I get a lot of stuff in the mail. I open the box and I say, that's not what they said. So can I fix this, or is this going back? And that's just the nature of e-commerce. God, I made this a 14-minute discussion when I could have said it in 30 seconds. I'm sure I'm going to get beat over the head for that in the comments. So be it. But this particular guitar is a victory. You can't see a defect because I fixed it. It's as good as new. All right, folks. See you next time.